comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots. Welcome, sinners. This is Sports Idiot Nation.
What is up, sinners? It is time for your Thursday dose of your Sports Idiot Nation, your sin. As always, I am Adam Marinos, joined by Miles Behind Enemy Lines, Mr. T.I., and we've brought on an NBA friend, fellow idiot. T.I., take it away. Who is this guy?
This guy right here is just some random guy I found on the street and asked him if he wanted to be on our podcast tonight, because we were needing a fourth man. But no,
how do you gave him I see his background there. You gave him a little.
Yeah, I sent him a banner and was like, come on, man, just put this banner up and just talk some sports. Now, this is my buddy Jacob. We've been friends for many years. Also we all call him Memphis J. Jacob and I have been teaming up on the Titans idiot stuff for a while. He was a believer in this whole shenanigans before I even believed in it. So, and we both kind of have been involved in the hip hop scene in Nashville for many years. Jacob's been an MC, a DJ. I mean, you name it, he's been involved in it from Nashville to Murfreesboro. So, and we're both huge Memphis Grizzlies fans. Obviously, with Jacob being from Memphis, he's a big Memphis Tiger fan, Memphis Grizzlies. But, I thought, a good way to kind of start this whole thing off is like, Memphis J, I know Grizzlies weren't always around. And, I know you probably had your teams growing up or players that you like to watch, as I did. And, and I know Adam's been out west, so he's been a loyal supporter of his team for many years. But let's kick things off by just reminiscing a little bit. Like, what was your introduction to the NBA in the 80s, 90s? Like, who were you following? Who did you hate? Let's dive into that a little bit just to break the ice here.
Hell yeah. First off, thanks for having me. What's up, everybody? So okay, you said kind of my introduction to the NBA. I'll keep it quick. It's interesting. I remember basketball, but I don't remember being super into it until I was still in elementary, probably late elementary school. We got an exchange student who was from Spain, and he was in like upper high school, 11th or 12th grade. And he brought with him a notebook that had every NBA team's address here in the USA where you could send their office stuff. And he was like, if you write them a letter, they'll send you a sticker back, or like they'll send you something back. I was like, cool, little kid. So we did that. We wrote letters to all the different NBA teams. And I don't think I had a favorite at the time. I get confused on which years or what, but of course, through the Jordan era, without Memphis having a team, I was a big Chicago fan, but I enjoyed watching what I could of other teams. But probably my favorite team, our first real favorite team, was the Orlando Magic. When Penny Hardaway joined them, some of my an early memory that I really look back on is when Blue Chips came out, and you kind of first saw Shaq and Penny and like in the trenches, like slamming and just sweaty, and you're just like, whoa, this is like basketball like I've never seen it before. Not like an NBA game. And so it really got me. Being a Memphis fan, we all were watching Penny Hardaway.
Nick Nolte,
he was really
punting the ball. That's what did it for me.
Nick Nolte's cinematic achievement, his triumphant, greatest pitcher ever.
Right. It is still a good flick. I still watch it every now and then just for fun. Just to see the dude hit all the free throws in a row while they're talking. Like, come on, miss one. But no, I love basketball. I've always liked it. It's a simple sport. You don't have to have all of the equipment. I kind of wanted to play hockey at one time. I had some friends that were doing that, and my mom was just like, I'm sorry, we can't afford to play travel hockey. I'm just going to cut that dream off right now.
I had that same conversation with my mom too. She was like, nah, we're not doing that. You can,
right.
Even though you're not good enough to make the high school basketball team, you can just keep playing basketball, and then you can just keep playing soccer. And we're good at that.
Right.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Yeah. But
no, I love basketball.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. We're most of us on this panel outside of our brethren Miles here, we're all about the same age. And yeah, I grew up, obviously, I mean, my first introduction is really, the Bulls, obviously, like a lot of us from that era, it was must see TV. Jordan, Scotty, Tony Kukoc. I mean, obviously when they, traded for Dennis Rodman, that was a big deal, which still to me at this day is the most lopsided trade in NBA history. It's like, hey, we're going to send you Will Perdue for Dennis Rodman. Like San Antonio just wanted to get rid of him. They just couldn't handle him. He's too much. Phil Jackson brings him on and it's just like, yeah, man, you want to go to Vegas and party in the middle of the season? Yeah, sure, whatever. Just, make sure you're back here when we tell you to get here. Or Jordan and I are going to show up and bust you and Carmen Electra in your bedroom, in the hotel room.
Jordan had to go get him, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that, like disappointed dad look from Jordan walking in your hotel room. He's probably smoking a cigar. It's just like, get in a car.
I think he had 23 rebounds the next game. Like, oh, just nothing.
But yeah, I grew up watching the Bulls. Really had a love-hate affair with the Knicks, because John Starks just really, really annoyed me. Something about him. He was the first
missing
instigator.
Free throws. Gotcha.
He was just like the first instigator for me. He was like the pre Dylan Brooks. But I did like kind of watching the Knicks, and I kind of liked Anthony Mason because he was from he played at TSU, and so that was he was on the Bulls and he was on the Knicks, so it was like they always had a great rivalry. So I like that, and back then though it's not like today where the West is more dominant. Typically, back then it was like you had a few teams in the West, but most.
I was going to say that the East was different.
Oh yeah,
yeah, the East was
just
tough.
scary, and. There were some individual players I liked watching. Like I liked Vince Carter. Obviously, Vince Carter was just so much fun to watch. I jumped into NBA a little. I still got to really appreciate the Bird Magic rivalry, but unfortunately, like that candle had kind of fizzled out by the time I really got heavy into the NBA. Pistons were beating everybody up, and then the Bulls took over, and the rest is history. And Kobe was always fun to watch, but I wasn't even a Kobe fan at first. He really grew on me. I was kind of like, he's drafted by the Hornets and immediately traded to LA, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, but he really grew on me. Wasn't a huge fan of Shaq until later. I liked watching him, but I just was kind of like, it's kind of like this my argument with like Superman. It's like Superman's a born superhero because he can do everything. Nobody can stop him. And that's what Shaq was for the longest time. I was like, he's phenomenal, but it's just boring. Like they just throw him the ball and he dunks it, and they throw him the ball and he dunks it, and throw him the ball and dunks it. But later in life, he obviously grew on me. I love his personality. Being from Auburn, of course, Charles Barkley, was a big, I loved watching Barkley. I had the first pair of shoes, first like celebrity shoes I had were some Barkleys. I didn't have the Jordans first. So
I had Barkleys too, 10th grade.
Partly because of my mom, I think, because the whole Auburn connection. But later in life, my grandmother, I tricked my grandmother to buy me some Reebok pumps, so I had some Shaqs and had a pair of Jordans once. Obviously, it was the year that was the ugliest pair that existed. Like those were the ones I had. Never had any of the ones that looked cool. I had the one that just looked like somebody vomited some splatter paint all over them,
Right.
But yeah, so I was Bulls, But obviously when the Grizz came to town, I mean, from day one, I was like, all right, boom, I'm Grizz. I was picking them on every video game. I didn't, back when they were winning 5-6 games a year, I was like, I don't care. And then Hubie Brown took over, and the Hubie Brown took over that one year and made them respectable. And forever since then, like they have some ups and downs, but they're, for the most part, as long as they're core or on the court, they compete, so big Grizz fan.
Nice.
I know, Adam, you're a Dubs fan. We know that. You never shut up about it. You're wearing the shirt, of course, to let us know.
Yep. Got from just like you, just got from our webpage. Remember, the link is in the description there for your t-shirt. So I have, and I will let the cat out of the bag. This is the LA Rams shirt. This is technically from the NFC West, the St. Louis Rams, or St. Louis. Hello.
Well, they were
dating
The
myself.
St. Louis Rams of Los Angeles. You're fine.
Right. Well,
by way of
the Los Angeles Rams, it's Niners South. I mean, in those games when the Niners come to town, it's a sea of red in LA. But this is the Golden State Warriors colors, so it works for basketball. So your team sucks. We have the Your Team Sucks line, if you will. Like we just named it that kind of in our own heads.
In
So
our
there's
catalog.
in our catalog any team you want.
Or
If you're a fan,
YTS signature series brand.
exactly. So very cool. But I got my mug. I got all the stuff. So check out. Link is in the description. But yes, I grew up near the Golden Gate Bridge, and so Run TMC was the only thing we had going. And so I'm left-handed, as is a guy from St. John's University, Chris Mullen. And so he could really knock it down, man. It was fun to watch him play.
Oh yeah,
And I
dude.
will admit, I'm not a Pacer fan, although I live in Indiana. When Chris Mullins went to the Pacers, that team was pretty good too, and fun to watch. With Reggie Miller, obviously from UCLA, my favorite college basketball team as well. But Run
Also the
TMC was
color
the
of your
only
shirt.
thing that Golden State had going for them. They were pretty bad, and then once Draymond, Clay, and Steph got together, it was beyond magic. I think with those three guys, they didn't even need KD. They proved that. But I want to ask you guys, and Memphis J, I'll start with you, and Miles, you can talk about how you got into Orlando as well, as you're wearing your McGrady. Here's one question I want to ask you guys: the debate of, you think about. I'm going to jump into football for 8 seconds, so bear with me. Dick Butkus, right? One of the most dominant players, but even a guy who, I don't know if he's going to make the Hall of Fame or not, Vernon Davis. You match up Vernon Davis on Dick Butkus. I'm not a Dick Butkus hater by any means, but I'm sorry. Vernon Davis is running circles around Dick Butkus, Jack Lambert, some of these guys. Like, it's just a different time, right? And it's like, it's unfair, right? Now, having said that, the Warriors of DeMarcus Cousins, Draymond, KD, Clay, Steph, with a bench of Spates and Iguodala, I mean, just crazy. Um, what does that look like with the Bulls? And you could even pick whatever Bulls team you want, because there's the team with Rodman and Kukoc, and then there's the team that beat the Blazers and the Lakers that didn't have those guys. What are
Horace Grant,
the
Bill
main
Paxton.
factors? Yeah, John Paxson. What are the factors when you say, all right, no one's guarding Jordan, but also Pippen and Jordan can only guard two of the guys? Maybe you want to go with the Ron Harper years because he was a good defender. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, let's get that debate out there. And Memphis J, what's your take on that?
Okay, so if you're going the year with Cousins on the Warriors, I'm
The
probably gonna
Hampton
have to
lineup.
pick
Remember that? The
a
Hampton?
Rodman. I'm gonna have to pick a Rodman era of the Bulls. One of those years
Okay.
with Rodman, just
And that you
because.
get Harper then too.
Okay, it's I don't know. I think just kind of in generalities, not even just individual matchups. I know it's different eras, and they were playing different games as far as, like, that era of the Bulls wasn't shooting as many threes, but I still don't think, even if they were adapted to kind of play against a later Warriors team, I still don't know if there's a Bulls team that could really keep up with what the Warriors were doing during that time, because they had low game, but you had Steph and Clay just running around like crazy. At any point could just be open in the corner to hit a three. Like it's always been
Mm-hmm.
uh probably as a fan of other teams having to play the Warriors. That's probably always just been the scariest thing, is that they're going crazy. It's hard to keep up with them and adapt unless you've really game planned for what they do. They have a lot of movement that I think the NBA today is kind of moving towards more of that, inspired by the years of the Warriors there. But yeah, that one's it's a tough one. Anytime you start talking different eras, you've got kind of different coaching mentalities as well from those times of what they would have really been. I don't know. It's tough though. I like Cousins as a player when he was young. He was really fun to watch and was scary to have
Sacramento.
to face. Yeah. Um, there's a lot of years of I don't with the rivalry of Memphis and the Warriors, I don't want to think too much about those years with the Warriors. Um, but it definitely would be an interesting matchup with almost any of the I feel like a couple of years of Warriors teams could go up against almost any other finals team in the last 15, 20 years, and it would be an interesting game other than different eras clashing with how they played. Uh, but even that could be interesting, if you were just running simulators or stuff like that.
NBA 2K. Miles, what do you think?
Right.
So Memphis J brings up the point about the Splash Bros running around. Why? Because of the freedom of movement rules that were installed about
Yeah.
15 years ago now. It depends on what rules you're playing with, because if we're playing 90s ball, those guys are not flowing the way that they could right now. And I
True.
think that's a big reason why no one watches the NBA anymore. They destroyed the sport where they've essentially turned it into all-star games. It's made the games less physical, truly less competitive. I mean, you watch all these clips now of them running up and down the floor and clanking threes, not necessarily the Warriors, but just the league in general. So it really comes down to what era are we playing in. Now, in terms of the bigger, faster, stronger, from the 90s to today, yes, there is a bit of a gap, but it's not the gap that you'd even see between the 70s and 90s compared to the 90s to today. So if you're going to compare the Bulls to, I mean, the 76ers of the 70s with Dr. J, there is no comparison there. I think you can compare 90s teams to today in terms of athleticism and size and yada da da da. But it comes down to what rules are we looking at. If we're playing on Chicago's home court, you're probably playing 90s rules. It's a different ball game. You got different lineups. If you're playing in Golden State 2024 rules, yes, Golden State would run the floor on Chicago and probably drub them by 50.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Depends on the rules.
I think Golden State. I kind of jokingly one day I called us. It's like they redefined today's game by turning it into math problem basketball. And basically, what I meant by that was they're like, if we take 30 more threes than you, and even if we hit a third of those, we're still doubling up on these teams that are really not good at shooting threes. And it turned into the rest of the league adopted that. And like Miles said, you see big men. I mean, you see Joel Embiid out there taking threes all the time. And it's just like, that's fine, if you hit it, but you're not going to hit them every time. And you kind of just look silly doing it. And some people are shooting from half court because Steph can do it, And so like those Warriors teams, you look at the box score and it would just be like, they took 50 3-pointers and their opponent took, 24. And it's just like, well, hell, even if they miss half of those, they're still doubling up because, the other team's only hitting 12 of those. And so
Right.
I feel like they completely redefined the game there. I mean, every team is doing that now. It's just this kind of run and gun. Grit and grind Grizzlies really were the only kind of team that were still that persona of that kind of 90s physicality when they had, Zebo and Tony Allen and
Right.
Marc Gasol. I mean, they were
Still played a low.
they were
post game.
holding. Oh yeah, and they were holding every team to like record lows. Like their averages against them were always like 30 points below what their team average were. So that was only. I mean, but ever since then, I mean, games changed. Even the Grizzlies have changed. I mean, they've adopted that mentality now. They're running gun. They're putting up about 130 a night. Typically 120
Right.
at least. So yeah, I mean, I'm a Bulls truest. Jordan obviously. Is my guy. But yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, it's kind of like our debate we had with Johnny Dell. It's like the eras are different, the players are different. If we're just stacking them up in today's
Rules are
game, like,
different.
yeah, there's not many people that can, it's
Right.
the physicality is just not there. Anytime it is there, people are getting called for flagrants, and I mean, Dennis
Right.
Rodman would not survive in today's climate in the NBA at all. He would be ejected in every single game. He'd be fouling out by halftime. So yeah, I mean, but I mean, with that being said, though, like it is what God, what did the Warriors did they break the Bulls? Did they beat it by one game, or did they end up getting beat? I can't
They
remember.
did.
Like the that's what I
Well,
thought.
they
Yeah,
got
so it's
beat,
like
they
but they
did.
got the regular
It was
season
like
record. Yeah,
But what did
71
it
or
cost you?
73 or something.
73
yeah,
and 9. Because the
yeah. I
record was
mean,
72 and 10, and that's my first memory. Is when I was 5 years old. So this was March or April of 1996, and my dad called, and he had left a voicemail on our home phone. So back in the day, yeah, there were no cell phones yet, and my dad was calling, and the Bulls, I'll never forget, they were playing the Bucks that night, going for 70. So they weren't to that 72 mark yet, but they were going to be the first team ever to win 70 games in a regular season. Of course, I'm 5 years old, and my mom hits the play button on the recording, and I run up to the phone and pick it up, and of course I get like the dial tone, and my mom's like, "No, you idiot, it's a recording." But that was the first memory that I really actually recall, is the Bulls going for win number 70 against the Bucks. Of course, they end up
yeah.
getting 72 wins. They actually win the championship, as great teams are supposed to do. Warriors win 73, but then blow the 3-1 lead and ruin their chances of a four-peat.
Yeah, that I
Still
mean
butthurt about that.
that was still amazing. I never thought that Bulls record would be beat, and that's a testament to really this whole argument is that Steve Kerr and the Warriors just changed the game. I mean, you see these kids.
Steph Curry changed the game.
Well,
And as
yeah.
Charles Barkley said, Steph Curry ruined basketball. Now, it wasn't a dig at him at all. It was because of his greatness. So kids go out there and see this little shrimpy dude knocking down 40-foot jumpers like it's nothing. And then kids in AAU ball at the age of 12 years old are shooting it a step over
Mhm.
half court. And
Yeah.
they can't do that. And really, when it comes back, what ruined the game was freedom of movement. That is allowing for this running gun for something like Steph Curry to happen. And Steph Curry is one of the greatest of all time. He's the greatest shooter God has ever put on planet Earth. There's no question about it. I have nothing against Steph Curry. I absolutely love him as a basketball player. But
Just
to Barkley's point, it totally changed the game from
Mhm.
the
Right.
NBA down to kids picking up a basketball and dribbling for the first time.
right. I started to say something when Ti mentioned Curry and how the Warriors kind of changed the NBA and the game, and I do agree with you mostly, but also as a coach and seeing stuff at the youth basketball level, like when I'm at these Grizzlies basketball camps, it's crazy to see a lot of these kids that really can hit from at least the line, not as far back as hitting like half court shots. And I agree as a coach, they shouldn't be. We shouldn't be encouraging kids to do, kind of showcase basketball, hitting them from the logo and stuff like that. That it is affecting and changing the game. But I've also had to remind myself, at the same time, yes, it's changed the NBA game, and you're seeing all of these teams shooting a whole lot more threes. But on the other hand, when it came to like basketball in general, you wouldn't have seen it in games, but people were always bombing from as far away as they could. When it came time to try to win at horse, if you had any type of a long shot, people were, we can't say, because I know everybody's kind of like Steph Curry ruined basketball, but people were always taking long shots. It wasn't in the game, so I agree to an extent, but I feel like it's also part of the evolution of the game. People, the
Right.
3-point
It is.
line wasn't a thing, and it it's kind of crazy. It's like one of those things. Like once you let the cat out of the bag, or you open the box, you can't. Once they know Santa Claus isn't real, you've got sixth graders
Wait,
now
what?
dunking. You got sixth graders now dunking. Don't let your son watch this. He's probably as old as mine. He knows, but like, it's like uh that blew me away to see a video of a middle school tryout, a sixth grader starting out his middle school career, and he can dunk. It's like, okay, now this is wild. There were kids at the youth basketball thing. The kid who won the MVP for the whole 2-day camp, he was in the younger group and he hit more threes than any of the older kids. Like he won the shootout. He had the most points in the scrimmage, even though he was on the young kids team versus the older one. Like it was very it's always hard to watch your own kid like not get the awards at the end of it, but I had to be like, did you see what that kid did? Like that kid, every time
Yeah.
he shot it, it was magic. Like, like
Yeah.
you didn't hustle
Yeah.
like that. I love you, buddy, but you weren't hitting threes like
Yeah.
that, dog.
Yeah.
I
And
love you,
that's
buddy, but I'm
amazing.
gonna
But
go.
we
I'm
have
gonna
to,
go adopt that kid.
yeah. Now, and that's kind of the point right there. You want to adopt them because those kids are few and far between. And to
Yeah.
the point of, yeah, there are kids that are 12 years old that can dunk. Those kids are going to be the 0.1% that end up in the league one day, or maybe they flame out or whatever. But other kids that are 12 that can fill it up from 30 feet. Adam and I coached one. He ended up playing D2 ball, now playing NAI ball. But then on the
Nice.
flip side, for every one of those that can, you have 6 kids that are 10, 11, 12 years old that don't have the strength to launch a 3 ball, shooting
Right.
straight up and down, going vertical. So they're pushing their body
Oh, yeah.
forward, and
I
then that
agree.
ruins their shot for the rest of their grade school, middle school, and high school career. So it ruins them because
I
they're
agree.
watching at a young age, watching Steph Curry doing it, and it just totally destroys their fundamentals. So it's one of those things that's like, yeah, we love to see the evolution of the game, but the majority of kids, they ain't ready for it till they're almost in high school. They're the onesies, twosies that, yeah, when they're 12, when I was getting the training wheels off my bike, another kid's drop stepping, one dribble, two-handed jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
It's insane.
first dunk I ever saw live was when Ron Mercer played for Good Pasture, and they came and played my high school Harpeth, and the word was amongst all of us, hey, they got this guy, he can dunk. We were all sitting on the front row just waiting for it. I mean, we're there to watch our team, but we're waiting to see it. And Ron Mercer just comes down and just clow. I mean, we all jumped up and we're cheering and just like, what? Because you just at that point in my life, like, had never seen a dunk live. Like, there wasn't people on our team dunking. Like my friend Brian could dunk, but it had to be the perfect situation, the perfect spring. Like it wasn't easy for him, but he could do it. But man, seeing a dunk for the first time, 15 feet in front of you was pretty phenomenal to me, and good. And obviously Ron Mercer had a pretty good career, went on to, play at Kentucky, went on the NBA, played it, I think I know he got drafted to Boston with Rick Pitino. I'm not sure where else he played at, but I do remember the famous Rick Pitino quote, Larry Bird is not walking through that door, it's
Right.
classic, so. But yeah, that was the first dunk I ever saw live, was from Ron Mercer, and it was pretty much at that point I was already like, I was outside of college football, I was late to the NFL. Like, that was an addition to my life late. Basketball was my true love, when I was young and well into my
Same
teens,
here.
and so that was like the first real thing where I was like, okay, yeah, this is for me. Like, I know I'll never be able to do that, but damn, it was cool to see.
Chicago Bull.
Try coaching.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Try coaching a kid that basically did that. So Miles and I had a chance. We've talked about this before. Snyder High School, where Jesse Bates, Rod Woodson went. Well, Malik Williams, who is kind of going back and forth between the G League and the NBA, most recently of the Raptors last year, towards the end of the year, got some playing time.
Miami Heat.
I was going to say, wasn't he on the Heat? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so I went to Concordia High School, and I'm coaching at Concordia, but with Snyder and with Malik Williams, who is basically like Kevin Durant in high school. And when I say Kevin Durant, he's hitting threes as well. So here's this guy, 6'11", basically, just dunked like 10 dunks in the game, 4 alley-oops. He hit like 6 3-pointers. Now, mind you, I went to school at this other high school that I'm coaching against. And I know the fans, I know the team, I know the parents in the stands, I know the faculty, and I've been to plenty of games there. They have never ever flat out cheered for the opposing team. And anytime Malik got checked out of the game, they booed. And when they saw him go up to the scores table, they held up like American flags and were just like USA. Like they were just like we love this country. Like we love Malik Williams. And like when he would like shoot the ball, it would be like a pin drop, and it was swish through the net, and they would just start cheering. They were down 37, and they're just like cheering. And Malik did not break the scoring record for points in a game because he didn't play the fourth quarter, and his family and the whole Concordia side were just booing all of us coaches for not letting him play when we're up 47 and he's already got 42 points in 3 quarters. Like, it was just so wild. So
That's
you
wild.
talk about that experience. Like, imagine if you were coaching Ron Mercer. Not saying that Malik Williams was as good as Ron Mercer, but as far as high school, he was pretty good. And a 6'11" guy who hits threes.
There was another guy, Miles, you're like the human computer, man. You probably remember, but there's a guy who he wound up playing for Wake Forest, big guy, and he was really good. And I'm pretty sure he went to the NBA. His name's drawing blank, but I did get to see him in the when our team went to this would have been he would have been in high school in the 90s. So he would have been like he would have probably been at Wake in probably like 98, 99, maybe 99, 2000. Anyway, we got to they play. I'm not sure who he played for in high school in Tennessee, but they got to play Harpeth in the tournament in the one of the playoff rounds, and he was pretty fun to watch. Like those are the only 2 NBA guys I ever got to see in high school. And then Sean Marion. Actually, Sean Marion played for Clarksville, and a buddy of mine was on an AAU team with him. And I went to a couple of the AAU practices and games that summer. And every play was pretty much a Sean Marion play. The Matrix. It was like every out of bounds play was just a oop to Marion. Like every single play was like, all right, give it to Sean Marion. Give it to Sean Marion. And my buddy was good. My buddy was really good, but it was just like, yeah, this is Sean Marion's team. So I got to see him a couple times, and he had a pretty damn good career too,
Yeah. It's crazy to think about those old teams.
Is he too? No, he's too young. I was thinking of the I gotta look it up because I can't pronounce his name. Al Farouk Aminu, but he's my age. Al Farouk, yeah. But no, you're too old. I don't. My memory doesn't go back that far. I was like 6. So
yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Yeah, because I graduated in 97, and I was watching him. I think in like 96, 97, 98.
I know who you're talking about. Tim Duncan. Got it.
No, not Tim Duncan. Not Timmy.
Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
That would be a pretty phenomenal thing to see in high school.
No, I do got to bring it up because you said Sharif Abdul-Rahim. And that makes me think of my first Grizzlies memory. And this was back when they were still in Vancouver. I got to have, look, the 90s, and we need to maybe get into this. At the very least, we need to touch on this, so I will. The 90s era of NBA jerseys is the greatest era of jerseys in any sport ever.
Orlando Pinstripe.
The Charlotte Hornets, the teal, the purple pinstripe, the Toronto Raptors, the purple and the red and the black.
Supersonics.
The Supersonics were dope.
Yeah.
Even the Pacers with the pinstripe yellow, give respect to that. And there's many more out there, but of course the Vancouver Grizzlies that they just brought back a few years ago with the teal.
The New Jersey Nets.
So
those jerseys were trash.
Shut up, Adam. So the Vancouver Grizzlies, I love the teal. So I was like, I can't afford to get a jersey, but at 10 years old, save up enough money through chores and other oddball things that I pick up cash for legally. I wanted to buy a Vancouver Grizzlies hat. So I found one, and this is not quite, but you're close. A couple years later. The 2000 NBA draft, of course, the greatest NBA draft of all time. The Grizzlies had just drafted one Stromile Swift,
Yeah,
Grizzly legend,
The-
right? So I bought a
Duncan
Grizzlies
legend
hat
for
with
sure.
an embroidered
Yeah.
fake signature of a one Stromile Swift. And that, to this day, is still my favorite Vancouver/Memphis Grizzly.
Nice.
That's terrible.
He could dunk. The guy could
I was
dunk. He
gonna
could
say-
jump out of the
That's
building. He could jump out of the building.
Good.
Hey,
Just when we were-
kick your ass.
We're talking about our own nostalgia and memories. Do y'all remember like what your first NBA jersey that you ever bought, or if you remember back?
Ooh,
Barkley
that's a good
Phoenix.
call. That's a
My
Barkley Phoenix.
my grandmother bought mine. It was the Jordan Dream Team jersey.
Okay.
And I wore it
Number
to
9.
school. The first day of school in 8th grade, I had some cool blue jean shorts, brand new, and I was already
Jorts?
a little self-conscious, And we had us all come and sit in the bleachers the very first morning. It was like introduction to school, and I sat in gum on the first day of school.
I said
And I was so embarrassed about
What
it.
an
And I
idiot.
still, it's funny. I still think about that, I still think like they're just
Yeah.
little things from childhood. And I remember feeling so cool, like Jordan jersey, I'm like, I'm sitting here and I get up and it's like, everybody's laughing. You sat in gum. And I'm just, I'm in the bathroom with like ice, like trying to get it
Right.
off, and all this. And teachers,
Life
no,
is
you
like
got to
that,
come
man.
to class. Yeah. Got to come to class. I'm just like, no, I'm mortified, It's so funny, man.
Life's quick. Like 1 second you're riding the bike, the next second you're like skinned your knee on the ground. You're like, dang, all right, what it brought back
So,
down to
then
earth.
yeah, my
Nah,
first
go
jersey
for it.
that I at least remember getting, another sick 90s jersey that needs to be brought back immediately that has teal in it. Detroit Pistons.
Grant
So
Hill.
I was at a
Grant Hill's
garage sale
phase.
my mom took me to, and she found, I was looking the other way or whatever, and on the
Fort
coat
Wayne.
rack, she said that she found a Hill jersey. She didn't know who Grant Hill was. She found a Hill jersey. She's like, Austin, which my first name that I went by back then. She's like, I found a Hill jersey. It says Pistons on the front for $3. You can buy this. And I didn't see it yet. So I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, it's the teal with the piston horse on it. She pulls it out and it is a retro 80s red and blue Pistons jersey. I still bought it anyway. So that was my first jersey. It was still a Grant Hill jersey. And it's pretty cool, but it was not a Fort Wayne Zollner Piston jersey. It was not a teal horse Piston jersey,
Right.
but it still was a Grant Hill jersey nonetheless.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
very
about you,
cool, very
Jacob?
cool.
What was your first jersey?
It was a Penny Hardaway. It was a black Orlando Magic.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And then one of my friends
Sexy
that was
AF.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came across a little somebody sold like 5 or 6 jerseys on Facebook Marketplace a few months back or a year ago now. And they weren't all my favorite players, but there were a couple of them in there that I was like, yes, we're just getting this. And like when I went and met, I'm just like, I'll take all 6 of these. Like they were only 20 a piece or something. I was excited. But no, I got the black one Penny Hardaway Magic jersey, and my friend down the street was like, "Oh, okay, if you got that one, I'll get the Shaq jersey." And I don't think he was even a huge Shaq or Magic fan, but he was like, "If you got that one, I'll get the jersey that matches it, so we can play out in the yard."
Then you guys just ran the playground, man. You guys were like the duo,
Hell
2 on
yeah.
2. You had it on lock.
We were the smallest 2 white guys in my driveway, probably getting blown out. But it was still fun. That's what I love about
You were
basketball.
big and black in your dreams. Got it.
Right. If you lower it down to 8 feet, I'll still, we
Sounds
can
like a
still
different
get busy.
movie.
I can almost hit it at 9 feet. I'm trying. Yeah, I coach now, and I'm an assistant this year at this season. And last season, the guy who's the head coach was my assistant last season, and he's a lot younger than me, and he's got a good like 7 or 8 inches taller than I am. But I was able to dunk a little small ball on the 9-foot rims that we shoot on for my kids' league. But he came in this year and like whammed it on a 9-foot, and I was just like, Okay. I'm still going back to the gym. Okay, back to the gym. But no, one thing you said about the kids throwing the ball from so far away, I still think we should keep the rims lower far longer, depending upon the age of the kids. I think they kind of push them a little faster than they should now for developing good shot form. Um, but no, I don't think, did we get Adam's first jersey before we move on?
Barkley from the
Wrong.
Suns. What
Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah,
I was a Barkley guy because I didn't know. So dumb.
you're not dumb.
True
You're an
to
idiot. You're an
true
idiot,
to the
not
idiot
dumb.
form. I was like, Michael Jordan. I don't know if he'll be the one. I really like Barkley,
Right.
and
Hey, I mean, Barkley was still. I mean, he was still one of
You
the
could have
ones.
been in the. You could have worked for Nike at the Air movie and been like, "No, we shouldn't do the shoe
I
deal
don't
with
know.
Mike.
I
We shouldn't
know,
give all
right?
the
What
money
a
to
great
him."
movie.
Or
Sonny
you
Vaccaro.
know,
And
or you could have, been drafted. What Sam was it? Sam Perkins. Sam Perkins went
Bowie.
before Sam Bowie. Sam
Bowie.
Bowie. Yeah. If you could draft Sam Bowie before Michael Jordan, even though he had busted up knees in college, they still were like, yeah, this seems like a good pick. Like, yeah, okay. I mean,
right. I
Olajuwon, you
just
can't knock that. I mean,
Well, and that's how you
You
know
know.
Hakeem, the Dream, was that good. He was drafted before Jordan, and no one gives shit to the Rockets for it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He was awesome. That whole Shaq and him when they had their kind of thing going on was really fun. That was a good little thing. And then Alonzo tried to hop in there a little bit, but it was really just it was really just Olajuwon and Shaq. Dikembe was fun, but but when Tim Duncan came through, he
Who
was
wants to
that you
sex
talk about
but
another
Dumbo?
player. I think that another player I think that really kind of helped change the game a little bit was definitely Tim Duncan because I mean, bro was just
Oh, yeah.
he didn't give a crap about the stardom. Just went in, did his job every single night, put up just phenomenal numbers. Him and David Robinson together, whew, scary.
Yeah.
Twin Towers.
Then on the Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't
But
care about
what
fame, but he did care about his family being on the team flights. Otherwise, he
one
would have been
thing
in Orlando.
one thing, Jacob, I was going to say before we kind of move on, you're talking about keeping the rims at a certain height. I definitely agree there for sure. With the younger kids, but I also think that we should install the Rock and Jock rules and put the 50-foot goal up there. That's worth like 20 points. And remember the MTV Rock and Jock. So they had the goal like going
Yeah.
up and down, and then they had the that was some
Nice.
crazy stuff. Like
I'm with it.
Jaleel White, Steve Urkel was out there balling.
Marky
Right.
Mark.
Yeah.
We're going to have
And then
kids
he got
granny
slam ball,
shot.
too.
Oh yeah, slam ball.
Right. Yeah.
Man.
And then you'd have like Sean Kemp out there. You'd have like random NBA All Stars with Mario Lopez from Saved by the Bell. They'd both be out there. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Or them Pros versus Joes.
Right.
Oh yeah,
man.
forgot about that show. Pros versus
Man,
Joes. That was
Emmett
fun.
Smith.
Yeah, bring that back.
trying
Bring that back.
Yeah,
you
those
know.
were the days.
Let's just see some boxing. Let's see some amateur guy go out there and fight Mike Tyson. Oh wait, we've already watched that on Netflix.
Yeah,
So-
right.
No, that's enough. We're done with that. Let's shift gears a little bit more to
Sure.
the present. Before we do, reminder to catch all of Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media. TI, real quick, give the people what they want. Let them know all that we have in our nation.
Sure. Let's run off these nations. First of all, since we have Memphis J on here, we want to direct all of our basketball enthusiasts to Hoops Idiot Nation. Jacob is manning that helm along with me and Miles, and all of us are on there. Wayne's going to be popping on there as well. We're going to have people popping back and forth through a few pages, but let's just go through the gauntlet. We got Hoops Idiot Nation. We got Matt running Wrestling Idiot Nation. We got Devin running Racing Idiot Nation. We've got Turtles Idiot Nation, which is more tongue in cheek, but it's a fun page. It's already starting to kind of take form. We've got Rock Idiot Nation along the horizon for 2025 with my man Joshua Toomey. Of course, we got Sports Idiot Nation. We got Titans Idiot Nation. We will be launching in January Gridiron Idiot Nation. We're going to hit it hard with the playoffs. All of us will kind of be tag teaming that. So it's about 8 or 9 Idiot Nations out there, and I hope I didn't forget any of them. Oh, Puck. Yeah, we got Puck Idiot Nation as well for all you
What the
hockey
fuck,
enthusiasts.
dude?
Yeah, what the Puck?
What
How could
the
a Puck and
fuck?
forget that? fucking idiots, you know. Yeah, Facebook. I mean, YouTube's gonna flag us now for cussing.
Yeah,
It's like, no,
are they
YouTube.
listening
We're
right?
saying pucking
Yeah.
idiot. YouTube, you algorithm
P
robot.
for
But
penis.
yeah, but that's just the start of things. You know, like we said, without taking up much time, these are going to serve as home bases for us to grow into individual pages. So, you know, once we find the right people who are just enthusiastic about the teams that we love as their own teams, then we will kind of reach out to them and see if they want to start building their Idiot Nation pages for their respective teams. And we're just going to grow this network over the years. And
Expand
before
the
it's all
idiot-verse.
said and done, the idiot verse will be alive and well, and the idiots will be running the asylum. So
And it don't
if
stop.
we
with Ti at the helm, oh God, help us.
I'm like Toonces the driving cat.
He's a
Like I'm
game
taking you
warden.
straight off the cliff, you know.
Game
oh,
warden
God.
of the idiot-verse.
All right. So also shout out to a couple episodes here. So you mentioned Devin with Race and Idiot Nation. That is episode 25. So be sure to check out episode 25 of the podcast. The most fun way to watch is, of course, on YouTube. Then also we have episode 15 you mentioned earlier was super fun talking to one Johnny Dell. He is a fellow 49er fan, as am I. And his channel is amazing for breaking down film and going through the whys and hows of the game. We go through NFL team legacies and teams of the decade. Super fun episode. That is episode 15. So shout out to those episodes. And then the last shout out episode I wanted to give was Turtles, because you mentioned that episode 29. A lot of good fun info talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is episode 29. As I mentioned before, be sure to check out all of our gear and swag accessories. The link is right in the show notes for you. Follow Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media. And now I want to switch gears to kind of some present day NBA stuff and some of the stories that we kind of feel like, okay, if we're honest, we really didn't think that the season would go this way with some of these teams. And there's two that I want to start the conversation going, and I want to get Memphis J's take and then some of the storylines that maybe you think about. So the first two that I want to give is Houston and Cleveland. So I think Cleveland was pretty decent, and I really do love Donovan Mitchell. I had a chance to see him live in person in practice when he was in college, because Malik Williams, who I mentioned, played at Louisville and they were teammates. And so I got to watch him. Now, he wasn't Donovan Mitchell as we know him. I couldn't even tell who he was. He made a few plays in practice, but I didn't realize he was going to be what he is now. But I've always liked him. And so I knew they were going to be good, but good Lord. I mean, they shot out of a cannon. And then Houston, like, wait a minute. We're supposed to be making fun of Houston every single day. And wait a minute, we definitely cannot. They are playing overall really well, and I'm just a little like, okay, they're doing that. So, Memphis, what do you think about those two? And then do you have another team or a storyline that you're like, okay, that was kind of interesting?
I think Cleveland is definitely kind of a shocker to me as well, even though they did a little bit of a run, I feel like, last year in the playoffs. Yeah, I didn't see the Cavs being as hot as they are, better than the Celtics and anybody else. I will say with Houston, they're a team that I don't exactly like at times because of rivalries in the past with the Grizzlies, but at the same time, I like watching a lot of different teams, and I've been watching them slowly kind of collect young players that were good. They make decent trades at times, so it doesn't completely surprise me. I remember even the last season or two when the Grizzlies were just, putting G leaguers and plumbers out there on a regular, and we would watch Houston. I'm like, okay, maybe a game we got a chance, and they'd blow us out. It'd be like, okay, no, those young guys are finally starting to click, and the gears are turning. It doesn't completely surprise me. Other than that, my other, you know, I want to say I'm a little bit surprised that the Clippers are going down with Paul George getting hurt, but at the same time, you never wish that on any player. But not everybody has the ability to play into these later years as well as others.
Oh,
And
you
I
mean
guess that's why.
the Sixers because
Yes.
Paul George
Okay.
is
I'm
a
sorry.
Sixers
Yeah.
guy.
No.
Yeah. I knew what you
Um.
meant, but I figured I'd
Yeah.
catch
Yeah.
you
He
before
is.
you
But
went down
I'm
that
used to
path.
him being a part of keeping the Clippers back. I'm used to him being a part of one or two that's injured, and the Clippers aren't going anywhere. But you're right. It's the 76ers now
Yeah,
that are
they're
going through their own
terrible.
issues with everything. Whether or not Bede started the season off right, that was kind of weird. Um.
To admit that, to
No. I
admit what he
mean.
admitted, right? Like that he's not going
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
back to back. Like, don't say that. Just
Yeah.
kind of go through it. And then if you're asked about it,
Right.
like, well, I'm on management, minutes management, and things like that. But don't say that up front, dude. That's dumb. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Right. Right. No, I'm always kind of surprised that Phoenix isn't doing even better than they are sometimes. I'm glad the Lakers are kind of losing steam at this point in the season. Really, other than that, I would say the Orlando Magic are a team that's kind of like Houston. They've slowly been trading and collecting young guys that maybe you've never heard of, but on a player level, they're coming to work and getting it done. Um, I think the Bucks are kind of a surprise that they're kind of middle of the road. Currently, they're 11-10 when we're shooting this, so I wouldn't have called that situation. But the NBA is weird. You know, you've got the Cavaliers who couldn't be beat, and then Atlanta's right now in the 6th seed, and they can totally just take the Cavs out. It looks like, so the basketball's a funny sport. That's kind of as far as just general crazy takes. That's probably where I'm at. I'm just glad that only 3 or 4, 5 people on the Grizzlies are injured this season. We at least have a deep enough thing. We're still at
I mean,
holding our own so far.
I mean, last season they had an NBA record for different starting lineups, and injured players. I mean, they had.
Right.
I mean, but hey,
They're the
they stumbled
49ers
across a
of
lot of
basketball.
talent. I mean, they
Right.
stumbled across a lot of talent, though. I mean, and again this
I
year,
think
I
it
mean,
will benefit us
just
long run.
well, I mean, just last week, the G League dude, Cam Spencer, he tossed up
Oh, yeah.
51. I mean, it's like so. I mean, they've definitely. I mean, they got him in the second round. Just never know.
Right.
He hit 12. He hit 12 out of 15 from downtown. That's Steph
Right.
Curry numbers right there. He grew up
Right.
watching recently. But you kind of hit on a lot of them. I think, we early in the season of us podcasting, we all chose a team to kind of like dark horse just to follow, and
Mhm.
one of the ones I chose, or the team I chose, was the Knicks, just because they had made the trade for Cat and they already, were decent, but they just never really got over the hump. So it's going to be interesting to see how because they're just now starting, I think, to gel. I mean, they had a couple weeks ago, they had back-to-back record scoring nights in franchise history. And it's like,
Right.
that's a testament, obviously, to the game changing a little bit, but also this new nucleus they have. So the Knicks are cool their story's good. OKC, obviously they were good last year. Anytime, small market is doing well, I think that's always a good story. I've still got a little bit of kind of hatred to OKC back when, the Grizz had their rivalry with them, but
Oh, yeah.
that whole team's done with. It's all new faces there and new attitude. But
Right.
that whole KD and James Harden and Russ, like I couldn't stand that team. I couldn't stand Russ. I hated his, and I don't necessarily hate his game. I mean, he's a good player, he is, but
I
just
hated Russ at that time.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, at that time, I
Let
just
Russ
hated.
go.
I
So
really I've got a I don't love him, but I've got a soft spot for him now. I've heard his whole life story and watched a video on him, and I'm like, man, he's a good dude. Like you kind of can't hate on him. He's got the heart
Yeah.
of a champion. You know what I
Well,
mean?
he went
And
to
he's gonna
UCLA. You
shoot
can't
whether
hate
or
on
not.
him.
What?
You went to UCLA. You can't hate on him.
True. No, one thing I thought I'd say because you mentioned the Knicks, I hated Karl Anthony Towns on the Timberwolves. For something about it, I just don't really like them. They're kind of like the anti-Grizz to me. They're like they're kind of like it's Anthony Edwards stealing Ja Morant's thunder when he's out. You've got there the new upstart, kind of like the Grizzlies were. But for some reason, I didn't like Karl Anthony Towns with the Timberwolves, but I like him on the Knicks. Like seeing some of these highlights and that look where he takes one to the chest and just looks at the ref like, really? You're not gonna? Okay, then I'm gonna step back and hit that. Like I can do it. I was like, okay, game recognized game. That he's like you said. I think the fit is kind of a little different there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the Knicks not being just a punching bag.
I think
Like
the
they were.
cat. Yeah, I think what's helping Cat is getting away from Rudy Gobert because that dude is just so
True.
soft,
I
and
thought that
he's
was a
like
really stupid thing.
he had to
Gave the
make
whole
up.
league COVID.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but he had to make up so much for that guy's just inability to
Right.
do anything. Like, he would win Defensive Player of the Year and all this, but it was like, come on, man. Like Shaq was like, dude is even Shaq at like age 50 is like, if he's winning Defensive Player of the Year, get me in there. I can play right now.
I think
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert, when they added Gobert to the Timberwolves, I felt like that's one of those teams that looks really good on paper when you're just like sketching people's names and putting them in spots. But when you actually put them on the court, you're like, no, this isn't gonna work.
Mhm.
It's just two really big guys that are different kinds of game and not good at the things the other guy can't do. Like I almost it's just two different kinds of game, even though they're both really big guys in the NBA. I think it's interesting to see how the big man game is changing. I like it in ways, but it's nice to see throwbacks when people are still, like you mentioned, the old grit and grind days. There's still a few teams out there that got a big man that can post up and do some moves. As a basketball coach, I hope we don't lose all of that. Going
Sure.
into the new eras.
So we mentioned the teams that we kind of have. So besides the teams that obviously we root for, I am this year have picked the Mavericks to kind of really stay a close eye on. They're in the top 4 or 5 playoff hunt. Miles has the Magic. They're in the top 4 or 5 playoff hunt. Ti mentioned the Knicks. They're right there along with the Magic. So all of our teams that we've kind of picked to kind of take a look at and we like their storyline are doing pretty well as we have checked in with them for this week. Memphis J, do you have a team that we can check back with you, throughout the next couple of months where we know you and Ti who you're always going to root for, and if the Knicks play the Grizzlies, Ti unequivocally is rooting for the Grizzlies. It's not like he's going to say, well, I picked the Knicks this year. It's not that.
Right.
But his second team that he's kind of following is the Knicks. So, having said that, who would you say your team that you're kind of, it's fun to watch, you're definitely going to watch them if they're on, you're kind of hoping they do kind of well because you enjoy their storyline. If they play the Grizz, you hope that they lose 200-0. But who is that second team that you're looking at?
Man, it's really tough. It's a toss up between two teams. If I have to pick one, I hate them both because they're in the Western Conference and they're the other side against the Grizz. Maybe if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go with Houston because they're surprising me. The other team was the Mavericks for whatever it's worth. I like the Luka Kyrie, and they've got a bunch of other shooters on the Mavericks that if they've got a good game going, they
Klay Thompson
torched the Grizz a couple of nights ago. Really made me mad. I only watched
In
the like
in
last 10 minutes
in like
of
the
it.
final, in the final few minutes,
It
Grizz
was just like,
dominated
wait,
the whole
nobody's
game,
even
and then
gonna
it's like,
guard. Nobody's
Grizz
even
were
gonna
up.
guard the man who just hit three pointers in a row. Just let him shoot threes. Okay,
No,
it felt
man.
like I was
What are
watching
we
my
doing?
kids play. When it's
So-
like, just go. But no,
I
I'd
like
say
that
that
though, Houston.
I like the Knicks.
Two
They
East, two
really
West.
surprised me last year.
Dylan Brooks.
The Knicks. Yeah, Dylan Brooks with the Rockets.
Miles
I
eye
I
roll.
forget. There's a couple of players that I don't know if they're still with the Rockets. I'd have to check their whole roster, but they had a couple of players that came from the University of Memphis that I've been trying to keep up with. Memphis has had a few different players that are getting shuffled around. It's really hard to kind of keep. I've almost got to like look them up by name and be like, who are they playing for now? They're nobody really big, but some stars. It's hard not to kind of pick the Mavericks, but I would say Houston is probably the other team that I'm watching, even though I hated them at one time. I still don't like the Thunder. I respect them. I've been watching them get better and better. I hope Chet. I know he's injured right now. I don't know how long he's out. Um, I wouldn't hope for any success for any other team than the Grizzlies, like you already mentioned. But if it could work out to their advantage if he's able to kind of come back towards the end of the season and is a little bit better rested, and be able to come in and kind of play and not have to be so beat up by the end of the season going into the playoffs. I think that's probably the hardest thing. Is still kind of managing through the whole NBA season, keeping a team healthy. Of course, I'm a Grizzlies fan. I'm always scared of somebody getting hurt, and seems like we're getting bit by the ankle bug injury lately. Everybody's tripping and falling and can't get up.
They need life alert. They need life alert.
Yeah, right.
That is a for sure. They need some Sports Idiot Nation. Be sure to follow Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media. We have been talking to Memphis J. Shout out to you for helping us become in the nation with the Hoops Idiot Nation. Be sure to follow everyone in the nation, of course, but definitely follow Memphis J with his help on all things basketball. So we'll check in with, of course, the Grizzlies, the Warriors, wait. So Miles, your favorite team has kind of changed. Now that you're in,
because moving around,
you're now
with
in
moving
Memphis
around,
country.
and I never really had pro teams growing up, so that's why moving to Tennessee became a Titans fan, became a Grizz fan.
Right.
Because I was always a college guy first.
Yeah. For sure, we will check in always with the Grizzlies and the Warriors, and then now we know to check in with the Mavericks, the Knicks, the Magic, and the Rockets. So we'll check in usually on those teams and see how they're doing as well. Remember, new episodes of Sports Idiot Nation come to you every Monday and Thursday. The most fun way to watch is on YouTube. Memphis J, salute to you, sir. Thanks for hanging out with us. And everyone, we will see you Monday. Be sure to check out the gear, accessories, swag, because
Sinful swag.
Your team sucks.
Right. Your team sucks.
Thank y'all for having me, guys. It's been fun.
Okay, all you sinners, follow Sports Idiot Nation on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Like us on Facebook, and remember, the most fun way to watch us is on YouTube every Monday and Thursday. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be updated when new content drops. Remember, the podcast can also be found on the usual suspects of Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Always remember, don't be an idiot.
Sinner.